recap system in place, if you get me. Like, they don't necessarily, like, they would rather keep that system and pray that another star comes in a couple of years that doesn't, fight against the system. Because realistically, like, we've seen it in the NWSL, Trinity Rodman is gone. She's gone to Europe. Like, the NWSL for women's football is never going to be a highly regarded league. After the Trinity Rodman thing, everyone is going to be leaving NWSL teams as quickly as they can if they're good enough to get to Europe.
Caitlin Clark's compensation structure reveals a striking imbalance in professional women's basketball. Her total earnings reached approximately $16 million, with merely $114,000 originating from her WNBA contract. The vast majority came through sponsorship agreements and brand partnerships, highlighting a fundamental issue within the league's payment system. The WNBA possesses sufficient financial resources to compensate Clark at market value. However, the rigid salary cap structure prevents such arrangements. Unlike flexible payment systems, the hard cap means organizations would sooner lose star talent than compromise the existing framework.
As quickly as they can if they're good enough to get to Europe. Because there's no salary cap, teams can pay whatever the fuck they want. And look, it is one of those things where you've got Caitlin Clark here making 16 million in endorsements, and it's possibly the reason why she's not playing any of those outside leagues is that I think there's gonna she may never play, probably will never play in Rivals, but I would say this: it is an interesting one because
should Clark demand $15 million or threaten to join alternative leagues like Unrivaled, the WNBA would likely decline rather than dismantle their compensation model. The league prioritizes maintaining this structure, banking on future stars who might accept the current terms. Similar patterns emerge in women's soccer. Trinity Rodman departed the NWSL for European opportunities where teams operate without salary restrictions. This exodus threatens the American League's reputation, as talented athletes increasingly pursue uncapped markets offering competitive compensation. European clubs can offer whatever financial packages they deem appropriate, creating a talent drain from domestic competitions.
It is an interesting one because, like, you've got Project B who have the funds to pay Caitlin Clark more than the 16 million to go and play in Project B while still letting her play in the WNBA. And I think that's something she might end up taking. But at the end of the day, as long as Caitlin Clark's a top 5 player in the WNBA, she's going to be making an absolute fortune on endorsements. But it is interesting that, like, she's making...
Clark's endorsement income possibly explains her absence from overseas leagues. While participation in Unrivaled remains uncertain, the substantial sponsorship revenue makes domestic basketball financially viable. Leagues like Unrivaled potentially possess resources exceeding Clark's current earnings and could theoretically allow simultaneous WNBA participation. As long as Clark maintains elite status within the WNBA, endorsement opportunities will continue generating significant income. Timing played a crucial role in her financial success. Transitioning directly from Iowa to professional basketball, Clark secured numerous partnerships.
But it is interesting that, like, she's making this straight out of Iowa. Straight out of college. And how many brand deals did she lose? Like the Nike deal. Nike only wanted to give her a contract if she stayed in college. So many players wanted to, or so many, like, brands only wanted to sign players if they stayed in college because they were allowed to have that super senior season. But I'm like,
Interestingly, some opportunities were lost. Nike reportedly offered deals contingent upon remaining in college for an additional super senior season. Multiple brands pursued collegiate athletes specifically, seeking extended amateur careers for marketing purposes. Clark's immediate impact challenged conventional wisdom about rookie players. She demonstrated that first-year athletes could become franchise cornerstones, shifting organizational approaches. Washington exemplified this evolution, building their strategy around rookies, J.C. Sheldon and Aaliyah Edwards, even trading established players like Brittany Sykes to accommodate this direction. Other organizations maintain traditional approaches, limiting rookie playing time regardless of talent level.
But I'm like, you've now got a player in Caitlin Clark who has shown that that kind of carries over, and all that, like, oh, these rookies. I think Caitlin Clark was the catalyst for teams saying, no, we can have a rookie as our best player. Like, we saw it with, and we can kind of build around a rookie early. We saw it with Washington, who said, fuck this. Like, Citron and Kiki, you are our future. You are our present. You're not even our future, you're our present. We will get rid.
Indiana historically followed this conservative method, raising questions about whether Clark would have received similar opportunities under different coaching. The salary cap creates inherent inequities. Clark's true market value sits around $16 million, yet the current system prevents such compensation. This isn't unique to women's basketball. NBA superstars like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and Stephen Curry never received payments matching their actual worth during their primes. Luka Doncic faces similar constraints. Salary cap structures systematically underpay elite performers, while mid-tier and lower-tier players receive relatively inflated contracts compared to their contributions.
You're not even our future, you're our present. We will get rid of Brittany Sykes to run around you, to play around you. We're not going to sit you on the bench. And then there are some organizations that will just sit their rookies on the bench because they're old WNBA. Ironically, the Indiana Fever are one of them. Like, I don't know how many minutes Caitlin Clark would have played if Steph White was her coach as a rookie. My guess would be she would play. My guess would be there'd be potential that Erica Wheeler might have started point guard at times over her. That's just a guess.
Without cap restrictions, organizations would compensate athletes according to genuine market value. Even hypothetically, increasing the salary cap to $34 million or $100 million wouldn't solve the fundamental problem. Clark would remain underpaid relative to her value. Eliminating the cap entirely would allow owners like Matt Ishbia to offer $15 million annual contracts, reflecting true competitive worth. Under current regulations, Clark earns under $100,000 annually for 2 additional years, a fraction of her market impact. Clark's influence extends beyond basketball.
I guess. But look, at the end of the day, you've got a player in Caitlin Clark who's earning so much money from the outside. And a lot of people talk about how the salaries need to be higher. Caitlin Clark is worth $16 million. And the problem is that Caitlin will never get paid what she's worth because it's a salary cap league. And LeBron in his prime never got paid what he was worth. You had situations where Kobe...
She's revitalizing the athletic footwear market during a period of stagnation. Her signature shoes consistently sell out in 2025, while general sneaker sales remain sluggish. Premium Jordan releases were available at significant discounts during Black Friday, yet Clark's products remain unavailable. Her shoe models rank among the most worn in NBA circles, demonstrating crossover appeal that transcends gender barriers in sports. Claims about Clark's fame being limited to America are demonstrably false. International recognition far exceeds that of contemporaries like Angel Reese, who's primarily known abroad through negative highlight compilations.
Where Kobe in his prime never got paid what he was worth. LeBron in his prime never got paid what he was worth. Steph Curry in his prime never got paid what he was worth. Luka will never be paid what he was worth. Maybe not. Maybe not. But like, the top tier players will, in a salary cap league, will never get paid what they're worth. And there's going to be a lot of the low tier players.
Irish sports communities, despite limited WNBA exposure, consistently recognize Clark's excellence. Conversations with serious basketball enthusiasts, including former Division I players, reveal widespread appreciation. Many regularly watch her games and highlights, something they do for no other women's basketball player. During summer months, when fewer sports compete for attention, Clark's performances draw international viewership. The fundamental tension remains unresolved. The salary cap prevents paying athletes according to their actual...
Well, not so fast. The reason that Project B will most likely be successful is because they're playing internationally, where the fever and the fire for women's basketball is just much higher and much larger. I mean, let us understand, Russia was paying Brittany Griner $1 million a year 5 years ago. Diana Taurasi, $1.5 million 5 years ago. China basketball is...
Clark's situation exemplifies the system's limitations, where a player generating millions in value receives minimal direct compensation from the league itself. Without structural changes, this disparity will persist, regardless of overall revenue growth or cap increases. Tensions are rising among WNBA athletes regarding the ongoing collective bargaining agreement discussions. There's growing irritation despite the league presenting an offer that includes a fourfold salary increase, raising questions about whether the players truly comprehend their market position and brand value within American sports. Concerns about Project B's viability without Caitlin Clark may be premature. The venture's potential success stems from its international focus, where women's basketball enjoys substantially stronger support and enthusiasm.
Basketball is gargantuan. The fever and the fire to consume basketball in Europe and Asia, and every one of these countries got a basketball league. And this is going to be a collection of most of the best women's basketball players in the world playing over there in front of those audiences. Project B may not be looking for a big media.
Without Clark's involvement, domestic viewership interest may diminish considerably, with limited attention likely directed toward the league. The critical distinction lies in understanding that women's basketball consumption patterns differ dramatically across international markets compared to domestic preferences. American sports culture gravitates toward college football and professional football, while international audiences favor soccer alongside both men's and women's basketball. WNBA athletes continue experiencing frustration as collective bargaining discussions intensify. Signs suggest both parties are approaching potential confrontation as emotions escalate. Wealthy team owners possess substantial egos and resist external direction.
Project B may not be looking for a big media rights deal in the United States. I'm sure they would have if Caitlin Clark would have decided to play. But being overseas, I think they're willing to consume at a much bigger rate than we are. I got to be honest with you. Now that Caitlin Clark's not going to play in that league, I'm probably not going to pay much attention to it. I may check in and see how Sophie's doing, how she's.
Following an extended period of minimal activity at the negotiating table, WNBA labor discussions have intensified. Both parties spent months in their respective positions, each accusing the opposition of time-wasting tactics. Current negotiations resemble competitive combat, with each side attempting strategic advantages while the other responds with countermeasures. Recently, the Women's National Basketball Players Association responded after reports emerged regarding the league's proposal featuring maximum salaries reaching 7 figures. The league's proposition, according to various reports from sources knowledgeable about negotiations, includes athletes receiving half of a revenue metric, excluding certain income streams and accounting for expense deductions.
To it. I may check in and see how Sophie's doing, how she's performing. But far as actually sitting down and watching games, I don't know now. I would very much doubt it, considering my schedule. But I don't know that they're looking to make their money from the United States. They're playing internationally. So that's the one thing I would keep in mind about the Project B is going to go out of business. Overseas basketball.
Overall, this suggested compensation structure would result in players obtaining under 15% of the WNBA's complete revenue. According to these sources, as the collective bargaining agreement progresses, that 50% figure would remain static. The athletes believe their portion of overall league income would ultimately decline throughout the agreement's duration. The union subsequently responded with a counter-proposal seeking greater percentages of both team and league income according to sources connected to the situation. Two-time WNBA champion Kelsey Plum emphasized their unwavering position from the beginning regarding revenue sharing, specifying meaningful income from every business aspect, encompassing not merely league revenue but team income as well.
Overseas basketball is consumed much differently. Women's basketball consumed much differently overseas than it is here. Just has more interest. It is what it is. Over here, we like our college football and our NFL. Over there, they like soccer and they like basketball, men's and women's. WNBA players still frustrated as CBA talks.
A significant level of frustration exists because negotiations cannot advance until reaching acceptable terms on this fundamental issue. This development indicates growing restlessness and rising anger among the athletes. Frustration represents a form of anger, with tempers beginning to escalate. Questions arise regarding player unity, as certain athletes within the league might willingly accept the quadrupled salary offer. Average players earning approximately $500,000 annually might prefer accepting the current proposal rather than continuing negotiations indefinitely.
WNBA players still frustrated as CBA talks heat up. I'm going to tell you, it sounds to me like the two sides getting closer and closer to going to outright war. When tempers start flaring, billionaires got egos. They don't like to be told what to do. After a long, quiet year at the bargaining table, WNBA labor negotiations are heating up. For months,
the league has resisted the union's demands for compensation models resembling those in the NBA and NFL. Sources familiar with discussions indicate the league believes such comparisons lack fairness because the WNBA faces similar operational costs while generating substantially less income. This assessment contains accuracy. This fundamental reality explains why certain demands cannot be fulfilled. The NBA and NFL generate vastly greater revenue compared to the WNBA's income streams.
Here at the bargaining table, WNBA labor negotiations are heating up. For months, both sides sat in their corners accusing the other of wasting time. Now it's a prize fight. When one side attempts to gain an edge, the other throws a counterpunch. On Wednesday, it was the Women's National Basketball Players Association's turn after the news of the league's proposal, complete with a 7-figure max salary, was reported. Included in the league's proposal.
While the league's recent proposal represents substantial salary growth, athletes remain primarily concerned about compensation structures they perceive as allowing ownership to retain excessive profit margins. However, the league has never achieved profitability, losing $40 million in 2024 alone. This information emerged through reporting from major outlets last year, revealing financial losses that frustrated ownership. Plum stated their position bets that 6 years forward, the league will achieve significantly better financial performance with increased revenue and business growth. Therefore, revenue sharing holds paramount importance.
Was reported. Included in the league's proposal, according to multiple reports familiar with negotiations, was players receiving a 50% share of revenue metric that would not include all revenue and would have expenses deducted. All told, the proposed salary model would amount to players receiving less than 15% of the WNBA's total revenue, according to these sources. As the CBA progresses, that 50% metric would not change.